Hey fam, welcome to the Free Trail Podcast and our new presenting sponsor. We're so happy to now be working with The Feed. Thefeed.com/free trail is where you need to go. It is the one-stop shop for all your training and racing nutrition needs. They have over 200 of the world's best nutrition brands stocked in one website. It's a fantastic resource. We've been big customers for a long time. We're really proud to work with them. Some of my favorite products that you can find at thefeed.com/free trail. Gnarly Nutrition Whey Protein Powder. I like the chocolate flavor. I have some of this after every one of my workouts and long runs. For in-run nutrition, Orange Drank. You'll see my big dumb face on it. Also from Gnarly Nutrition, enhanced sodium concentration here in the world's best fueling drink mix. Finally, HVMN, Ketone IQ. I have 2 of these ketone shots basically every single day, once before I go running and once in the middle of the afternoon when I need a little extra energy. Go to thefeed.com/free trail and you're going to get an $80 credit, free money to spend at thefeed.com. It'll be $20 right away and then $20 every 90 days thereafter. You'll also get a sweet Trail Running Will Save the World water bottle. Again, that's thefeed.com/free trail. You'll get $80 credit to spend on your favorite nutrition products. And if you are international, they do ship internationally as well. So you can take care or at least take advantage of that great offering from The Feed. Big thanks to The Feed for supporting and thank you for watching the podcast. Greg Vollet, welcome to the Free Trail Podcast. Thank you so much for doing this all the way from Japan.
Yes, hello everybody. Very happy to be here with you.
You are, of course, the director of the Golden Trail World Series. The series is starting this weekend for the Kobe Trail in Japan, but you're also the longtime sports marketing guy at Salomon. We've known each other for a while, and I'm excited to talk all about your career, including what you've built with the Golden Trail World Series. I start every conversation in the same place, Greg, so I have to pose this question to you. That is just what makes you, what makes Greg Vollet a unique individual on planet Earth?
I think in everything I've done, I've always been very passionate and determined. It's true for sports, but it's true also on my professional career. What I love the most is starting from a white page from scratch and having a vision and then working to reach this ideal vision. And this is what I've done in the past in the sport. Day by day, you are building your body and you are trying to reach your goals. And on a professional side, it's the same. I mean that you really want to make sure that what you want to develop will respect your values and will be the most authentic possible to the sport or to what you think is the best. Yeah, so this is a little bit my way of working, I would say.
I love it, Greg. Thank you for that. And it makes perfect sense. You know, loving to start from the blank page, and you have started from the blank page a number of times. And I want to talk about one of those blank pages because you were instrumental in beginning Salomon Running TV, that channel that touched the lives of so many trail runners, myself included. For people who are newer to the sport, they may not understand just how impactful that was in growing the sport and increasing fandom and building the profiles of a lot of the Salomon athletes. As the visionary behind that story, maybe talk a little bit about like how you realized that the branded content piece was critical to the overall strategy when you were in your role at Salomon before taking over with Golden Trail World Series. Talk about that era of Salomon Running TV and what made it so impactful.
Yeah, so if we go back to my really start at Salomon, you remember certainly the Killians Quest. That was just before Salomon Running TV. We realized with this kind of episode that we were able to reach a large number of people that was not necessarily a part of the trail running community. And it was the time where, for us, it was important to develop the sport. And I was traveling on many different continents to develop a community event. This is also in 2011 that I created the How to Trail Run workshop. Mm-hmm. And it was really based on the consumer and the really trying to inspire the people to trail run, because at that time road running was really the big thing, and not so many people were thinking that trail running was a sport. Mm-hmm. So the digital side was the easiest way to reach the biggest number of people, of course. And Salomon Frisky was already existing at that time. And my colleague who was managing these channels was just in front of me working. So I was thinking, okay, this is the next big thing we should do in trail running. And we started with some very inspiring story. And I was working at that time with the African attachment. Yep. Greg Fell and
Dean Leslie.
Dean, yes.
Yep.
And they were always super passionate about storytelling and finding also the best story to who will be able to really reach the emotional side of the people, you know. And I really believe that if you want to inspire people, you need a great story, and an emotional one you will remember for a while. Mm-hmm. So there is few episodes that many people remember. For me, I would say that the best one is maybe Why We Run. It was I don't know if you remember that one.
Remind me. The highlights for me, Greg, are the one about Bill Duper. It was filmed at the Western States 100, which was such a good idea.
Yes.
Where Dean Leslie and the African attachment drove and picked him up at his house in Leadville and then drove him all the way to Western States so he could experience it in person. Bill Duper, of course, trail running's original super fan who has since passed away. The other one that I loved, or that sticks out of my memory, is the one about Kroger's Canteen on the Hard Rock 100 course.
Of course.
And the interesting thing about those two, Greg, and maybe you can expand on this, is that they have nothing to do with one of the Salomon athletes, right? You know, one of them's about Bill Duper and the spirit that he brought to the sport, and one of them is kind of about Rock Horton, the guy who was the aid station captain for Kroger's Canteen for a decade, as opposed to it being about Ryan Sands or Francois Dan or something like that. And so I think what you have touched on, or that I think you've always known, and this is building off what you said, is that it's about the good story, right? And that in some way will feed back towards the Salomon brand, which ultimately was your goal and your responsibility and your role. Anything you want to say more about that?
Yes. One of my job was to develop the sports in the world. And to me, the Salomon TV was a tool to inspire the world to go trail running. And it was very different. And it was, for me, two different content. To have on one side, the competition side, the race report with the athletes, where you can reach a core community of people who love performance. But it was also these channels of inspiration, emotional, where Ricky Gates was in this inspirational team with Lucy Bartholomew, with Ryan Sanders, with Mira Rai, with this kind of profile that was dedicated to the inspiration and not necessarily to the performance. Some of them was able to play both roles, like Ryan, like Killian sometime. But the biggest story was not necessarily with athletes, because when we were talking about trail running, of course, it was with the legends of the sports. And these legends of the sport, if the ones that have the biggest stories, most of the people have more than 60 years.
Yeah.
But they have so much we have so much to learn from them, and to listen their stories is sometimes very magical.
Yeah. So say more about this distinction between building the sport and building the brand, because I know you've said in other places that effectively your role was to build the sport, and that just created a larger market where Salomon could compete. And within that market, you'd grow the business. Talk about that distinction between growing the brand and growing the sport.
Yes, it's still the case today. Huh? We will talk about it later. But we are still growing the sport, of course. Growing the sport, it's also working with all the brands. And you can see on Salomon TV or on the Golden that we are not that we are promoting all the brands. Why? Because what we want is to show the trail running story. We don't want, if on our channels we were talking just about Salomon, it would be an advertisement page of Salomon, which will reach much less people than if we are a kind of a media talking about our passion. Through all this content, I believe that we show how passionate we are about the sport, and that we are respecting everyone, every brand. And what we want is to grow the sport, because at the end of the day, I would say that new people who will go in the mountain will go to buy a pair of trail running shoes. And we believe that there is a 30% of chance that they will buy a Salomon pair of shoes.
Yeah. I just think we will come back and talk more about this when it comes to the Golden Trail World Series, but I think that's just an important idea to set the foundation for the rest of the conversation, because I think in some ways it is counterintuitive that Salomon in the Golden Trail World Series provides a platform for other brands to be successful in the sport. But there is this abundance mentality of creating a larger pie so that we can all thrive and build community. And on that subject, actually, Greg, I figured you would be a really good person to talk about just like the practical realities of building community. You mentioned the workshops that you did. We've also talked about the really successful digital initiatives that have built community for Salomon. The Golden Trail World Series channel has 71,000 subscribers. The Chasing Dreams videos are getting 300,000 views. The Salomon Running Instagram handle has over 1 million followers, which I know you were instrumental in building. Do you have any practical lessons about building community around the sport and the culture that you think would be relevant to our conversation?
Well, it's true that it seems a bit prehistorical, but I created the Instagram page or the Facebook page or the YouTube page. It was not existing before. So it seems very old when I say that. And when you create something new, you need to understand what's the needs of the community, what are they waiting for, and to stay the most authentic possible. That was always my guideline, and for that, I always it was a bit. It's very different, but I always think that our page should not be an advertisement page, but really trying to become the biggest media of trail running.
And I think that's why it has 1 million followers, personally, Greg, is because going to the Salomon Running Instagram account feels like you're going to a trail running fan account, right? And yes, there is Salomon product on it, but it doesn't feel overtly product heavy or like it's advertising ubiquitous.
Yes, and it's even more true on the Golden Trail Series channels, where on these channels we are not doing any distinction between athletes. We are talking about athletes there, whatever their brand. And respecting all brands, it means that we are openly talking about everyone, because we believe that we need also a series who will go on TV, who will reach a larger audience, and who will be able to pull the sport to the next level of communication.
Okay. I'm just reminded of your opening answer of wanting to create something from a blank page, and you referencing building the YouTube channel and Instagram account and Facebook page all from complete blankness. Makes perfect sense. So talking specifically about the Golden Trail World Series, tell us the founding story of it. I'd be curious to hear how you advocated for the initiative within Salomon, how you communicated the vision to the race partners and brought everything together in the beginning.
So at the beginning, we were sponsoring the Skyrunning. We were the main partner, and we wanted to push the Skyrunning to the next level. It was very niche. And we wanted to reach a larger audience, but it was very difficult to develop the communication because we were not owning this series, and it was always a lot of constraint. So since 2015, I was thinking to develop an international series, multi-brands series. So in 2016, I created many meetings with different brands. It was Scott's, Compressport, Dynafit, Oka, many brands, all the outdoor brands. And we've done 3 meetings in 1 year, trying to develop a new series all together. The idea was that each brand could propose 1 race. So that was my initial ideas. And at the end of the year, each brand was scared to be in the shadow of Salomon, and they just canceled the project. And I was telling everyone, okay, then I will do by myself.
Blank page.
Yes. And in 2017, I worked during 1 year to develop the series, and we launched it in 2018. And at the beginning, it was not that easy because it was looking a little bit like a Salomon series. We were having in the top 10 8 Salomon athletes. But step by step, we showed that we were pushing the communication over the boundaries, and that we were open to receive athletes from all brands and promoting them as well. So it was something maybe that the other brand was not expected. Few years after, this brand has changed the world of short distance with a lot of professional athletes that was not existing before, and where all the brands today are recruiting specific athletes in their team to take part of the Golden Trail World Series.
Yep. I want to come back and talk about that phenomenon here in a little bit. But I read in the Trail Mix newsletter that you said that the Golden Trail World Series operates more as a communications agency than a race organization. And I think this is an important distinction that maybe is misunderstood by some people. So say a few words about the business structure, how you align incentives between the brands, the races, the athletes, and what makes it more of a communications agency than a race organization.
Yes, we are working with a race director, and we are working in collaboration with them. It means that they are organizing the race. We have meetings to advise them on how they can improve their race. But our main support is the communication. It means that we are coming on each of our race with the layer of communication that we try to be at the same level everywhere. So when we are coming on a race like the Mont Blanc Marathon, where we will organize a live TV, for example, we are a team of 40 people, 40, to come and to produce content and to manage our channels and everything. So we are working much more like a communication agency, pushing the race to the next level and trying to reach as more people as possible through our job. And of course, we are using all the power of Salomon to be able to communicate and to reach a large audience.
So just to be clear for our audience here, Golden Trail does not own any of the events. You operate Salomon operates as the main sponsor partner for the event, and Golden Trail World Series does a lot of the athlete interaction and liaison, and also a ton of media content creation, which is sort of what I want to get to next. And that media and content creation is, of course, maximally beneficial to those race operators that you partner with, because you boost their events to the next level.
Exactly. It's exactly this.
Okay, because I think it's a different model compared to other things that are currently being created in the sport of trail running. And so I just want to make sure that our audiences understands sort of the structure of Golden Trail and what makes it different. Because from an outsider's perspective, or if you're new to trail running, you may think, that each one of these races is under a singular owner, but really you're being supportive of individual independent race organizers. So on the media side, with everything that you've done for trail running, I wondered, before we get to sort of some of the things you've created with Golden Trail, if there's anything outside of trail running that you've drawn inspiration from, especially over the years and with everything that you've done, including Salomon Running TV, which we just talked about. Are there other sports that you've observed in development or other broadcast experiences that you use to inform the Golden Trail strategy?
Yes, of course. I'm coming from a mountain bike. This is my background, cycling. And I've copy-pasted a lot of what I was experiencing in mountain bike or road cycling to be able to develop teams originally, simply. So the trail running team, when it has been developed in 2010, it was already a copy paste of a mountain bike team with the same kind of structure. And I was a big fan of Chainsmoke or this kind of old videos in mountain bike. That was a bit crazy, but inspired me a lot. And still today, I remember the Cannondale team in the 90s with Missy Jove or Franck Roman. I don't know if you know those names. But Cannondale at that time was able to showcase some very specific characters, totally punk, who was really moving, shaking the sport, with their images. And Sean Palmer, for example, these kind of guys were able to really become legends because of their character, because of their images that they were pushing to the limit. And I believe that today we are missing this kind of character in trail running, and
the punk rock trail runner. We need the punk rocker.
We have a little bit this with Ali McLaughlin, for example.
Yeah.
But really, I'm searching for this kind of story that we can tell and inspire maybe a younger generation.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who the most punk rock person is. We need like tattoos and dyed hair and stuff like that. But that's really interesting. And just with how much you've pioneered the media side of the sport, it was just a point of curiosity of mine. I want to talk about the media distribution strategy for Golden Trail 2 between Eurosport and YouTube. It seems like you've created a platform that does reach a lot of people. So maybe you could quantify some of that, add any numbers that you can share about what the broadcast looks like, and also just what the strategy is between Eurosport and YouTube, how you determine what content you want to be on which platform.
So today we have a partnership for the next 3 years with Eurosport. So that's a very good news for the sport. We are also working with a TV broadcaster where we have our content, like Chasing Dreams, is broadcasted in 138 countries. And of course, we have our YouTube. That's more for our core community, I would say. So with Eurosport, we are working more for our live event. It's not that easy. I mean that I wanted to create a live event, for example, for the Headlands, because near San Francisco, I was expecting 4G coverage, but it's not the case in the Marin County. So it's not that easy to have a live on each of our events. And we are searching a solution. I hope Elon Musk will help us with his new technology soon.
He's a listener of the podcast, so Elon Musk, send a few Starlinks to Greg Vollet, please.
We need mobile Wi-Fi, Elon. So please do it quickly. And once we will have this new technology, I think it will be a real step change for our programs.
Yeah.
But yes, in terms of numbers, our biggest views last year was the final in Italy, and just on Eurosport. So Eurosport, it's in 71 countries and it's in 23 languages. and we reach 6 million views just on Eurosport. So this is the kind of number if you want to compare with the mountain bike World Cup or with the ocean race. So for our first year, we reached large numbers, and even Eurosport were surprised with our result. So it was very
it's really impressive. And of course, that doesn't count all the content that lives natively on social media and on YouTube, where the impressions are much, much higher. So on the Eurosport thing, real quick, I'm just remembering too that I read in that Trail Mix newsletter something about how they are very pleased with this arrangement, something to the effect of this was the exact type of programming that they needed and that they were looking for. So talk about how those pieces came together and in what way Golden Trail is perfect for the broadcast programming that they need.
Yeah, we try to be as close as possible of how is released a cycling race, so it means that we want to be in the action as close as possible of the runners. Is not that easy technically because we are not on the road with a motorbike. We have camera runners or mountain bikers. It's technically more difficult, but they have seen that our program can have a very big potential, knowing that we are in the nature. And we are proposing something similar to cycling, but in a natural environment with more technicity, with a lot of fight, falls, blood, and suspense till the end, because on this kind of format, there is a few second difference between the athletes, and this is what makes this races excited to follow as well.
So to paint a contrast to something like the NFL or the NBA, where they sell their broadcast rights for insane amounts of money, I read you also say that it's free for them to broadcast it. In other words, you're trying to get the Golden Trail World Series in front of as many possible people without constraining or introducing exclusivity that might reduce the total number of lives that you touch. Anything you want to say about that philosophy and whether or not that might change in the future if the sport continues to develop? Would you be in the market to sell the Golden Trail World Series rights to ESPN here in America or something similar to that for billions of dollars?
It would be nice. No. It's true that we are a minor sport. We are living the sport, every day, and we believe that trail running is big. But let's step back a little bit and see that we are a very minor sport in this world. So we cannot sell anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Today. The media are even asking to be paid to release our content. So as you can see, we are far from selling our content.
Yeah, okay.
But we are still in this vision of developing the sport, and we believe that it's an investment that we must do if we want our sport to grow and to create a TV community that will become big enough. So one of my benchmark is the biathlon during the winter, where you can see during the weekends many people watching the biathlon, even if they are never practicing this sport. They are watching it because they create a community of people who like to follow. And my philosophy is to try to create this community, plus to inspire them to go outside, to go in the trails, to try, and to make them in a better health, practicing trail running.
So going back to what you said a second ago about Golden Trail World Series building interest in shorter distance racing, this is something that I've felt palpably in North America. And you'll remember, but in our time in the sport, North America was obviously very ultra oriented, ultra focused. And it seemed like almost a counterintuitive move at the time when you were starting the Golden Trail World Series, when UTMB and Western States occupied so much of the mind space of trail fans, to introduce this high profile series that was short distance oriented. It turned out to be sort of a revolutionarily intelligent move, I feel like, from you, from the Golden Trail team, from Salomon, to invest in short distance racing. As you're saying now, all the brands are trying to recruit young athletes who are specializing in this format of racing. What about the short course format made you confident that this model would work?
Well, when I presented this to Salomon in 2017, they were not agreed with this plan, and they were thinking I was crazy to invest in that direction. But I showed them that if we want to develop a younger generation of trail runner and to reach younger consumers, it was important to develop a different kind of disciplines, knowing that in ultra, the average age, it's around 45 years old. And on the Golden Trail Series, we are more at 26. So that was one of the main goal. And then the other side was that more shorter the race will be and more suspense we will have till the end. I remember some ultra races where the winner was more than 1 hour in front of the second. And you are watching the race, waiting he crossed the finish line. But or maybe that something happened because he get hypoglycemia or something that will give a bit of drama, to this content. But I was believing that it was a lack of action, coming from mountain bike. We were always having action cameras, showing also the race movement that was coming through the races, etc. And I was thinking that this short format will bring us something more dynamic and more accessible for the TV.
Yeah. So back to media. The Chasing Dreams series is so good. It's so good. It's some of the best trail running content ever. I'd love to hear you talk about the idea for that series and what impact it's had on Golden Trail. I know it's at least, sort of new, but it feels very professional. It feels very well produced, and it feels like it's intended to develop the sport, which has been a theme of our conversation, not necessarily just to develop the brand.
Oh, yes. And you see athletes from all brands during this series. Well, I believe, Drive to Survive in Formula One.
Yes. I was waiting for somebody to execute like that in trail running. And of course you've done it.
So I think it was a kind of a shock for many people in the sports world to see this series when it happened. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, we need to do that in trail running. This is the next big thing. And so the following years, we worked on it with our production team, Coastal Forest. And we, year after year, tried to improve the quality, the story. It's not that easy because we are creating the synopsis of each episode before the season. And we sometimes during the season, we were expecting to follow one athlete in particular, and this athlete get injured or blew up or disappear because we are not necessarily following the one who will win, but the one who will struggle potentially, where we can have more drama. It's not that easy, but I believe that we were able to create excitement, and when you are watching one episode, you want to watch the next one. And that was a little bit the idea of this series, and to also tease the community before the season start as well.
Yeah.
So to keep the communication online as well.
It's really beautifully done, and I'll make sure to link in the show notes to where our audience can find and watch those videos as they get excited for this year's Golden Trail World Series season. Speaking of which, let's talk about that. The series has expanded to Asia this year. As we mentioned, you're broadcasting today from Japan. Talk about the Asian trail market in general and what made this year the right time to expand.
Yeah, so I don't know if you followed it, but Salomon has been booked a few years ago by a Chinese company. His name is Anta. And last year, we received a message from Salomon China that the big boss, it's a little bit the god, wanted to receive a stage of the Golden Trail World Series in China. So, of course, when you receive this kind of message, you know that you cannot go against. And my only wish is that's what I was telling them. Okay, we will do this, but we will make an Asian trip to make sure that if we are asking athletes to travel there, they will do 2 races and not only one. So this is also what I want to develop with the Golden Trail World Series. It's more and more to create trips of 2 races in 2 weeks to reduce the traveling as well. So when we go in the US, it's 2 races in 2 weeks. This week, when people are traveling in Europe, it's 2 races in 2 weeks. And there is 2 races in 2 weeks in Asia, and still 2 satellite races in Zegama, Spain, and Mont Blanc Marathon. Mm-hmm. But in the future, I really would like to work on the 4 trips of 2 races plus the final.
Interesting. Talk about the flower format, because I looked at the course today. You guys posted a course flyover of what the athletes will confront in Japan. And it's one of these flower formats, like the final of Golden Trail last year. What makes that format interesting to you? Where did the idea come from? And why is it, a valuable course to pursue?
Yes. So there is many answers to that.
Yeah.
The first one, we want to develop the biggest show of trail running. And if you want to have a show, you need spectators. So we are organizing a fan zones on the start-finish area where, without moving, the spectators can watch the athletes 6 times. You have only one aid station, who is at the start-finish area. Only one rescue tent. And the athletes are never far, more than 5 kilometers from the start-finish area, which is pretty safe for them because we can access to them very quickly. The spectators don't need to take any cars or drive from a net station to another one and create traffic jam or park wherever they want along the road. They just come and enjoy the big screen in front of them to follow the live, plus watching them passing in front of them. So it's really a different approach to create a show.
Is that kind of like the mountain bike World Cup format? Because I know they sometimes do loops, but probably not the flower format. They're just probably repeating loops.
So this is what I want to make sure that the trail running will avoid loops, loops, because in mountain bike, before the Olympic game, it was only one loop of 50K. And then with the Olympic game, it was 3 kilometer loop that the athletes were competing during 1.5 hours, I would say, sometimes less. So here I want to show, because before one of my ideas was to fight against the Olympic game in trail running. But I know that this is totally utopic.
Yeah.
And that will never happen. I know that at one point this sport will go to the Olympic game. So the best way now for me is to show to the Olympic committee which format could work the best to the Olympic game, respecting the athletes. Because on a flower format, the athletes will compete on a different trails on each loop, and they will receive energy from the public after each 5 kilometers, I would say. But when they are competing, they don't feel that they are running always on the same loop. And there is still this adaptability of the terrain, improvisation, technical improvisation. There is still a big race management, and all of this disappear in mountain bike because it's always the same loop. So everyone is training hard on the same line in downhill. You cannot create any more big gaps because you have skills of technicality. It doesn't appear anymore. Everyone is just going down because they train a lot, just on the same line of this small loop. Here, for example, in Japan, it's 21 kilometers of technical trails. Mm-hmm. You cannot know by heart every corner. It's impossible. So you will have a big skills of adaptability, improvisation that will create a difference. And I believe that if our sport must evolve to the Olympic game, this format will respect the athletes and the public.
What did you mean when you said you wanted to fight against trail running being in the Olympics, and what gives you confidence that that is an inevitability?
It was because of my background in mountain bike, and the Olympic damaged the sport so much from its essence that I wanted to make sure that they will not damage trail running as they did with mountain bike or ski mountaineering or any kind of outdoor sport that is not made for stadium. And with this flower format, I can show them that it's also easier to film it because you can easily move your content creator from one live to another one. And you can have a team that is at the top of the mountain, a team at the bottom of the mountain, and create very good content all along. So, of course, we are still in this transition period where we are testing these kind of races. It will be improved in the coming years because trail running in the Olympic will certainly not happen in Los Angeles maybe in 8 years. So we still have a bit of time in front of us to fine tune everything. But at least we know that, for example, the 2 hours format for TV is also the right one, what they want. And we split the women live on Saturday and the men live on Sunday, or the women start 30 minutes before the men to make sure that the men and the women finish will be approximately the same time to close the Eurosport program very quickly after.
Wow, so many moving pieces. It's interesting to hear you talk about the Olympic conversation because it's been something in my mind and in a lot of people's minds over the course of time. And you're probably one of the more informed people as to what would make trail running attractive to the IOC and whether or not it would be a positive thing. So I appreciate your perspective on that. As you mentioned, you're going to be in China next week for the Four Sisters race. We talked about that. Then it's Zagama, the Mont Blanc Marathon, Sierra Zinal, all iconic events. I think there's an event in Poland, and then you come to the U.S., to my neighborhood, to Marin County.
Sure.
And I remember, Greg, you were instrumental in bringing a lot of the Salomon International athletes out for the North Face 50-mile championship for several years.
Sure.
So I would love to hear you talk about that, why you brought Golden Trail back to Marin County here in 2024.
Well, this TNF 50 was a really good race. It was closing the season every year. And I have very good memories there. I remember once we were doing a cycling strategies with the Salomon team. Maybe you were there.
I remember that. Who was the guy? You sent him out to just go on a wild attack at the beginning. I think that was the year Francois was there, maybe?
Yeah, so most of the time I was doing the rabbit on this race.
Yeah.
So I was, sometimes running fast at the beginning. And
okay.
Christophe Malardet was joining me in front of the race to make sure that all the athletes from the other brand behind was working hard and ran too fast to follow us. And it was working super well.
Yeah.
So I remember Dakota Jones, or who was it was Mike Wolf, and maybe you as well in this pack, chasing hard behind, and we were letting Miguel Heras to slow down because he had to wait the mid race before to push. And I remember that when we were arrived at Stinson Beach with Christophe, we were just dropping the race, and that you were watching each other like, what the fuck? Why they are dropping now? And then you realize, but we were running way too fast to go to the finish.
And then Miguel Arras won the race twice.
Yes.
Come on.
That was so good. So I have some very good memories there. And last year after Mammoth, I bring all the group of the Golden Trail Series to run on these Muir Woods trails. And I was telling them, what do you think about this playground? What do you think if we organize a race next year on this place? And we are working with the organizer for the headlands. And it's not a flower format, but still, if you go to patrol around there, you are able to see the runners 3 times around this place. So it will be very different. But yes, hopefully it will be nice. Of course, it'll be nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing the series to Marin County, Greg. I'm very excited to be here for it. One thing that I have, an idea that I need to pitch to you now, is to get Remy Bonnet to go for Jim Walmsley's course record on Mount Tam while he's here, in the same way that he has the FKT or the CR on the incline in Colorado Springs before the Pikes Peak Marathon. Jim Walmsley's FKT on Mount Tam has been to this point untouchable, and he's held it for probably 5 or 6 years. So
that's nice.
You got to carve out a day for Remy Bonnet to be the first person to go under 30 minutes at Mount Tam. Okay, so plant that idea in his head too.
Yes, perfect.
What do you think? Okay, we could even do a broadcast. Let's do a broadcast for that. Instagram Live. Well, cool. Well, we can start winding down now. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say about, the finals. I know that's going to be back in the Alps this year after being in the islands and in the coastal regions the last couple of years. If there's anything else you want to add about the national series and how that's supportive of the World Series, or anything else that you want the audience to know about how they can be fans of the Golden Trail World Series here in 2024.
Yes, so we have the Golden Trail National Series in 23 different countries today. We create a different change this year in terms of the categories. It means that we are inviting to the world final the winner, men and women, the top 2 men and women of the scratch, and the winner in the under 23 category, men and women. So this is something that we would like to develop in the future, is really the younger category, and to have more the opportunity for all brands as well to recruit a younger generation and the champions of tomorrow. You should know that all the athletes that are in the best on the Golden Trail National Series are often receiving a brand contract the following year. To integrate the World Series. So it's a good way for the best athletes to become professional. Yeah. So we wanted also to create a kind of a guideline for the athletes in every region in the world, to give the opportunity to them, whatever if they are sponsored or not, to be part of the World Series and to have the opportunity to get a professional contract. I think it's the only structure that has been made today for the elite athletes.
I really like it. It becomes a feeder system, an athlete pipeline, and an opportunity to give younger athletes a foundation or a platform from which to build a career and go from a national series athlete to a World Series athlete. And then who knows, there's so many different opportunities to race and compete in this sport. There's so many formats, and that's one of the things that makes it so special. And Greg, you've been such a pioneer in so many ways in the sport. I'm grateful you would come on the podcast and talk about it. And it's been fun to, connect with you over the course of time in our 2 long careers in trail running. Before we go, I ask everybody the same closing question. That is just, who is one person that you admire? Can be inside or outside of sport, living or dead. Why do you admire that person?
It's very difficult to answer this question. There is no one person in particular, I believe. But all the passionate people, the ones that are investing themselves because of their passion, and who are waking up on the morning and they are happy about the day is coming because they will be able to do their passion. And it could be music, it could be their work, it could be the sport or whatever, painting. When you have a strong passion, your heart is always beating hard every day to continue your vision, to build what you have deep in you. And it's stone by stone. And I believe to the end of your life, if you keep this fire in you.
When you start from a blank page, you need a lot of passion to turn it into something.
Yes.
Greg, it's great to have you on the podcast. Good luck in Japan this weekend, and I'm looking forward to following the race.
Thank you very much. Yes, it will be an amazing playground in Kobe.